and this is our first gathering. And I feel the rain is a kind of a symbol of blessing, though it's raining a little bit more than what we had expected, but it's fine. But I'm glad that you all are here. So what I will do now, basically, this program is nothing official or formal. This is a gathering of the hearts. So we may make mistakes, plenty of mistakes, but please forgive us. Kids have put some of their precious times into creating some role play on school bullying, so you'll see some samples of that. We'll also enjoy some musical rendition that correspond to the theme of our today's session, which is compassion.
But what May said about the compassion, I was just thinking, because we do a lot of bullying sessions in schools around us and in the center. But for me, I think it comes, compassion you learn it at home first. It's not something you learn outside. Compassion is something you teach your kids when, you know, if one child or you have many children, how to give and care, and it starts with a simple thing. One candy, just if they're two brothers, only one candy. Teach your child to divide the candy, not to eat the candy and then tease the brother or the sister. And I've seen this right now in some you know, videos running around, circulating. And the last one I've seen is lollipop. Two little babies sitting, one is eating the lollipop and giving to a brother, and his brother comes, you know, to eat it, and the child take it away. It's just about a few months old. And for me, a parent, you know, vegetating such a thing, not thinking about, you know, the feelings of this, you know, you're teaching one to be tough and the other one is just to take it and cry over it. This is when it starts, actually, when it should say no. You know, if you taught your kids from the house, you know, upbringing, to care for each other, they carry this with them wherever they go, and it spreads. And for me, compassion starts home.
Where they're actually supposed to be helping people. There are real life instances. I work in the retirement area, and you have people that are getting their monthly annuity, and they run into some problems, and this annuity is their entire life survival. If they don't have that annuity each month, then they're not going to be able to pay the rent for their house. They call up OPM expecting to get some help, and you know, there might be some problems with the health insurance, or there might be some problems with the allotments or something. The people just need to just do their job, pick up the phone, talk to them. Instead, they get a busy signal, or they're put on hold for such a long time. What is really hurtful in this is that, you know, a normal person who processes a case and everything, they can easily process 10 cases a day. And processing those 10 cases helps quite a lot of people in between there. Allows you to get phone calls and everything. That's not even asking too much. But you have people that 10 cases in one day, they can't even do that in 1 week. And they're barely doing 3 cases, and yet they are just complaining and not doing anything. And you wonder why there's this backlog, why people are complaining so much. It's just that lack of compassion that they have. That you have a responsibility, you have a job that you're doing, that it's impacting someone's livelihood, and you have a house, you have an income and everything, but these people don't. And where is your compassion for that you're not doing that?
I have a drum circle and Dances of Universal Peace Circle that meets monthly for, you know, since the end of beginning of the 80s, and it's been challenging just to be who I am and to bloom where I'm planted and to not have righteous indignation at hatefulness and ignorance. So I come to say, please help me. Okay.
I have had a pretty radical spiritual journey. I was raised Southern Baptist in North Carolina. I'm from North Carolina. I was born in North Carolina. And I left my family. And I journeyed on a few different spiritual paths, a few radical paths. And there was one day where I had had enough and I just decided to take a trip to Morocco. And on this trip, something absolutely divine happened and I met my future husband. And it was something, I was supposed to stay at a different bed and breakfast. I ended up staying at the same bed and breakfast he was at. We ended up talking and we stayed in contact when I came back to the States. And when the second time I went back to Morocco to see him, to see where our relationship would go, he introduced me to his family without me knowing that he was going to do that. But so I was being born in this country. I had grown up with the common misconceptions of everyone outside of this country. So it definitely blew my mind when I was embraced completely and totally by all members of his family. I spoke no Arabic. He was my husband, or my then boyfriend, fiance, was the only one that spoke English. And when he wasn't around, I kind of had to learn how to communicate, and we spent nights laughing and just not knowing each other's language, but somehow it just all worked. And my mind, and this is something I struggled with for a long time, was what do these people want from me? They must want something. You're not this nice to people without wanting something in return. And it took a long time to get rid of that mindset and to just understand that that's embracing of compassion, that embracing of understanding, of openness that I had not experienced. And I would sit and I would watch the various members of the family pray, do the 5 prayers, and it fascinated me, this commitment. And listening to the call to prayer every day is something absolutely beautiful. You don't understand how beautiful it is until you experience it yourself. And to be in a mosque for the first time just completely shaped me to my soul. And my mother-in-law, I love her like my own mother. She showed me so much compassion and so much love. I got sick in Morocco. My husband and I both got sick, like deathly sick. I thought I was gonna die. And she stayed by my side because I got sick. I was showing all the symptoms first. She stayed by my side the entire time and nursed me just like she was nursing my husband. And I felt so safe. And thank you. And yeah, and they took me to the hospital and paid everything and never asked for anything back, nothing. And for our wedding ceremony, they paid everything. I didn't even ask. It was just there. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. And my husband, I've never met somebody so giving. Like, just give his shirts and give his clothes, and he has something on him, and somebody says he likes it. Hey, do you want it? And I experienced that from other family members. Some other family members. There was this girl who had on bracelets, and all I said was, "Those are beautiful bracelets," and she took them off, and she was like, "Here, take them." Nobody here in this, well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say nobody, but I have never seen anybody in this country so willingly just to give something that they had. And it's really opened me up. And even his mother, she had a shawl, and I said it was beautiful. That's all I did was just compliment her. And she said, here, take it. And I had to talk to her. I said, no, I'm not going to take it. You know, that's your shawl. It looks great on you. But it's a level of just openness, and it's shown me a more compassionate way to live life. And now I am striving more and more, and it's changed my life. And I see that every day, how compassion just transforms you day by day. And I want to keep going. I want to do more and spread that light and that love and that understanding to others that may not see that part of such a beautiful religion. It has. So thank you.
My daughter Layla, when I was losing my ability to walk, and I'll never forget, and in that wise little girl's words, it is what I have found, that regardless of the color of our skin, the country of our birth, the faith or religion that we follow, our abilities or disabilities, that we all long to belong, right? And when we can not only walk with heart, but talk with heart, listen with heart, live with heart and compassion, then we can create a world where we can all belong. And the blessing of being in your home, Charlene and Amr, and to have this chance to remind ourselves when we do feel the world is with less compassion, but yet in this very space and place that's not going to be on CNN, it's not going to be on MSNBC, it's not going to be on the YouTube, what's trending. And that's what we have to remind ourselves, to keep walking and living with heart. It's beautiful.
I remember one time I was in Canada doing my master's degree, and my professor, he was originally from Guyana, and he used to recruit students, international students, from third world countries, and ask wherever he went to conference, do you know anybody who needs money, who can't come to the country because of money? And that's how I got into, someone said that, here's a student, can she apply? So I applied, I got there. And every time because we didn't have anybody, for the first time I was out of the country, he was Muslim, but he followed everything. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Eid, Ramadan. So every festival, we are there, all the students. And when I finished my master's degree, and I didn't have money, and I said, I want to do my PhD, he said, okay, we are admitting you, and you can continue. Then I said, I don't have money to go home, so what do I do? Can I have 4 months so that return ticket is cheaper? And then he found us some funds so that I can write a paper, so that you can stay in my home and go in the summer, come back, and in the meantime apply other places as well. So I applied in other places, he got me some fund, I started writing a paper, I finished my master's degree at that point, and then somehow he got some money, said I didn't have to move to I didn't want to, though his wife and him, both of them were like supporting all the students under him. Every little thing, they are the one there for our family. Finally, I got a scholarship in Houston. I applied to a few places. Houston because they have money. I know that I'll get a scholarship there. Then I wanted to go actually University of Buffalo because I read their, all the professors, their writings and everything. I loved their, thinking process, their ideology and everything, so I wanted to go there. But first thing I got an offer from Houston, and so the spring, you are, selected, you can come in the spring, but we only give half the scholarship. And I got I think spring means what? The next week. I thought, what? I thought spring means spring, right? Not January. At that time, I didn't know. So I said, did you finish your thesis? I said, no, I didn't finish it yet. So then he said, okay, can I talk to your supervisor? So I talked to my supervisor, who's like my father almost. I thought he was like, he was so supportive. So I went and I talked to him. He said, you finished everything. You just submitted to it. It's just binding. It will go to the library. Why did you say that you didn't finish it? I don't want to go anywhere. I just got suddenly so panic attack that they all support me. They love me so much. I don't want to go to another place where I don't know anybody. So I said, let me talk to him. So he talked to him. He said, Professor can't go if it is full scholarship. How she can manage? You know what he did? He went out of his way to fund me half of my scholarship, other half, to go to Houston and fund my flight and everything. And then call him, he said, you have to pick her up. And you have to settle her in some places. And that, my Dr. Ginsberg, I remember, he came and picked me up and he said, I have never found anything like this in my lifetime. So there was no dorm at that time for a week, nothing started. He said, okay, you are going to stay with me in my house. His wife and kids, so they gave me a room. And then he said, this is unbelievable that somebody, another university, giving the fund, airfare, to go to this university, and then they found me full scholarship after that. I don't know what, probably they found that they have to do something. And that, my professor called me every other time, no, I don't want to know about your studies. I want to know how you are doing. Mentally, do you have food? Can you cook? Do you have a shelter? Where you are staying? All those things. And that really changed, I just feel, I never could do for him the same way. But what I feel compassion is, maybe it's, and I have many stories. My life is full of those kind of stories, and I don't know how people do this kind of thing. I feel that I cannot do for him, couldn't do for him as much as he did for me. But
I have a small story that this is like, again, compassion for the longest time, compassion for animals, actually, I would need to say, animals. It was, in the late 60s, probably 69 or 70s. I was a little girl, and I remember that time we had a huge cyclone back in Bangladesh. We had a 70s, big cyclone. So a lot of people had taken shelter in our home. We were living in the city, in Dhanmondi, suburban area, more, protected from those cyclone zones. And people have taken shelter. And I remember at that time, and my father, today, whose birthday is today, and I thank my husband Amar, because I was thinking that whether we should have our organization first gathering, the seasonal gathering today, or push it in September, but I wanted to do it on his birthday. And then Amar said, no, just do it, so thank you, Amar. Standing at the veranda, and we had a beautiful, the flowering pots, with a lot of flowering pots hanging in the veranda. And we noticed a nightingale bird we call bulbul. The bulbul bird had nested in one of the, the pots, and she had her nest. So my father he was standing in front of that flowering pot and carried it. He just was carrying a dead bird on his palm. He just, placed that dead bird on his palm. And he was actually crying. But I just caught him in the moment. I mean, so it was a very silent cry. It was not the politicians, those different kind of cries in front of public that he got caught in front of his little girl. And he was lamenting that he had provided shelter to so many people afflicted by the cyclone, but how could he have forgotten that bird? And actually he just refused to eat. I mean, he was just saying, how could I have forgotten this bird? I should have carried that nest inside and protected. And that left in me, that imprint, a monumental life's lesson that a true leader looks at everything, even the smallest doesn't escape. He takes care of even the smallest, most negligible, with the same compassion and love that he would another more towering being. So that was, I feel, the life's lesson that comes, and that when we talk about compassion, the animal world, our environment, they are not secluded. We are all part of that big, vibrating, building block of energy connecting with one another.
Right now, there's one thing the world really, really needs right now. It is compassion. And compassion cannot come in a vacuum. It has to come on a basis of knowing each other. So there's a beautiful verse in the Holy Quran that says that if God so wished, He would have created us all into one nation. But He has created us into different nations and tribes, so that we would get to know each other. So I always say He chose the word know, right, on purpose here, because if He said love, you cannot love someone that you don't know. So you have to get to know me first in order to be able to like me, in order to be able to trust me, and then hopefully one day we'll be able to love each other and have true and honest and sincere compassion for one another. So I think knowledge, true knowledge of the other, is where compassion really starts. Which is why I got very much drawn into interfaith work. That's how I got to know Sister Charmaine, beautiful Sister Ruby, Sister Tiffany, all of these sisters from interfaith work and from connections in different communities. And I always feel that people have these artificial barriers, man-made barriers. That's like, I have this label, you have a different label, you have a different label, and therefore I have to guard my difference, right? These are my borders, these are my boundaries, and you should never step over these boundaries because this is my zone. And when you really truly think about it deeply enough, you will see that many of these borders and boundaries, whether physical ones or emotional ones or psychological ones, are man-made. And that in reality, the world needs a very big hug.
Yes.
Going back to the theme of kissing in my culture. So one of my Chinese students comes to my office, and she was like astounded how much kissing was going on. She's like, oh, there's a lot of kissing in your culture. Absolutely there is, right? So it's not like that. I know in every culture, definitely there's a lot of that
From
in mine.
Egypt?
Yes, in Egypt, yes. Oh, yeah. And I know that some cultures kiss even more, right? So I mean, so we can do a competition in that, how much kissing is in your culture, But in some cultures, there's almost like, there's always this like distance, like physically and so on. But anyway, so going back to the theme of true compassion, that can never come when we create these kinds of badges and labels, and everybody is just carrying his or her own label and badge, right? So if I introduce myself as Professor Khamis or Dr. Khamis, yes, that is one professional capacity. As I said, in this beautiful circle of compassion, I'd love to leave that on the door. And why is that the case? Because a lot of the compassion I think that I hope God has granted to me came from the struggles and trials in my personal life. So I had a husband who had brain cancer for 6.5 years, and God bless his soul, he passed away last year. And that was a big, big struggle, a big trial for the family, as you can only imagine. And I have 2 sons. The younger one has autism, so he has special needs. And I believe that, as Sister Luby was saying, sometimes I believe that walking with your heart is really the way to compassion. And I believe furthermore that trials sometimes are our greatest and most beautiful blessings. Yeah. So I feel personally, if I did not have these big, big trials and big, difficult challenges in my personal life, I would not have a compassionate side to my personality. I would be a very, very, how can I say, pragmatic, cutthroat competitor, right? And there is some of that in me, I have to admit. But really the amount of compassion or love I have for others, whether they are Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, Jews, you name it, people of no faith, I don't care. I still see them as people. And I still see that they also have and share pain in their heart, which is oftentimes very similar. Because if you are waiting in a clinic and you have a loved one in a chemotherapy session, does it really, really matter at this moment in time if this person there doing the chemotherapy or the radiation treatment happens to be a Muslim or a Jew or a Christian or a Buddhist? No, it does not. If you have a special needs child like my younger son Mahmoud who has autism, right? Does it really, really matter if this autistic child or his or her parents are Christian or Muslim or Jewish or Buddhist? No, it does not. So I get in the community with people who share my same pain. And all of a sudden you feel that all of these badges and labels and borders that we talked about, somehow they vanish, somehow they disappear. And we get united by our shared human experience and the shared pain in our heart. We all have the special needs child. We want to make sure that he or she is safe, is going to have a decent life, is going to be treated equally and humanly, right? That they're not going to be seen as less or be discriminated against. And that's a big battle. That's a big, big struggle. It's a big undertaking. And at that moment, all of these differences truly vanish and truly disappear. And what you are left with is the humility of the human experience, right? I know one Jewish friend once told me, having an autistic child can sometimes be a very humbling experience. And this word, I never ever forget it. She had like tears in her eyes and she was looking at me and she said, you know what, Sahar? It's a very humbling experience because you go out there in public and your child suddenly screams or runs, right? Or tries to grab someone or, does anything out of the normal and people suddenly look at you like, were you not able to raise your child properly or discipline him or her? No, that's not the case. He in fact has special needs. Not everybody has compassion in their hearts. So that in this moment, compassion becomes the key to trying to bridge the differences, unite people together, and the Sister Luby said it very beautifully, to walk with your heart. So again, I thank you, Charmaine and Dr. Amr, for this kind invitation. Love you all, and please call me Sister Sahar. Thank you so much.
I want to echo what Sister Kauthar said about her experience coming here and how people went out of their way to help her. And I felt like when you were talking, Sister Kauthar, it's like almost identical to my own experience. There were people, I came here trying hard to build a family and to make my way. And if it wasn't for certain people helping me, especially in academia and professionally, I don't think that, as you said, that no one can do it by themselves. And those people did not need anything from me. And those people were not, again, it didn't matter what religion, what ethnicity, what it was. But they did it out of their compassion and their appreciation for someone who's trying hard. And forever I am grateful for those people and have gratitude for them. There's one gardener also with them, 5 of them. And I don't know, I always appreciated them and the hard work they are doing. And so I got into a habit of every month, in the beginning of the month, I would just give them something extra above the cost of coffee or tea or whatever. And they were very appreciative and they always just said like, you don't have to do that. And I say, well, I said it's from God, it's not from me. That's continuously what I said to them. And they were always coming to thank me whenever, every month when this happened. Those people, of course, are very simple, and of course, like the majority of people in Ethiopia, or a chunk of them, they are Christians. And they knew very well that I'm a Muslim man. And one day, all of them came to my office, all of them, the 5 of them, and said that we want just to thank you so much for thinking of us every month. And we have something to give you. And they gave me a bag and said, please open it. And I opened the bag, and they have given me a prayer rug, a Muslim prayer rug. For me, because they noticed that in my office I do not have a prayer rug. Sometimes I think of this and say, look at the culture, how cultured those people are. It's not about education, it's not about nothing. Those are the cleaners. And look how they thought about, well, this man, we know he prays, but he doesn't have a rug, because other Muslims have prayer rugs. So they made sure to give me a prayer rug as a symbol of gratitude and compassion. Wow. It touched me so much because it really transcended all boundaries, all differences, and made me realize how people can be beautiful, regardless of wherever they come from. And as you said, Brother Hafiz, that it's like you do the good, you don't expect anything in return, but you get something in return. This is the karma that comes around. but it should be part of our modus operandi in everything we are doing. So I thought I would share that story.
The journey, started with her 10 years back. So I'm not going to the competition right now, but right now I'm just telling the story between her and me. So 10 years back, she was the MC of one of the program, and I do dance. That is my passion, and I do dance since I was child, since I was 4 years old. So she was the MC, and she was doing all, taking all the notes about my school and my, program and everything. So after the show, she gave me one of that book, which is called Rainbow in a Heart, her published book. And the next thing and she told me that it is all about the early childhood education. And by profession, I am an early childhood educator. So I'm the director for the center, right now pursuing my PhD in education. So when she gave me that book, so after a couple of days, I called her and I told her, let's make it as a dance drama. So I could feel that she was quiet couple of minutes. Then she was asking me how? I'm saying, yes, you can make the script, we can have the music done from Bangladesh, and I can do the choreography and everything. So that took up, 1 year. In 2010, my mom, she was my sponsor for my dance and everything. She's no more. But all of a sudden, an active person was in a bed, she got, diagnosed with cancer. On that point, I realized my mom spent her whole life for me. I need to do something. I called her. I told her, this is the time. Let's do it. Both of us, we worked really, really hard. She went to Bangladesh, made the music done. I went to Bangladesh, get all the costume. In 6 months, we did the practice, and every single day I was praying, God, don't take my mother. So it was 2010, September 19, in Rockville Center. My mom came in a wheelchair, and that one was the last time that she came. Looks like she was holding herself just for that show. And after that, within 3 weeks, she was gone. The thing that I'm saying, because my mother, who was married when she was 14, who became mother when she was 16, by that age of 22, she became 4 children mother. She couldn't do dance, but she always, because of the culture and the conservativeness, she always wanted me to do this. I am now practicing dance as my passion, not my profession, because she was keep on asking me, don't quit, but give this talent to others, not with the money, do something. Today my dance school name is Srishti, and it means creation. It's a non-profit, and our motto is peace through dance. So after 2010, we took this dance drama in Bangladesh. Why? So that we can dedicate that one for her mother. And in 2012 in Bangladesh, we had 2 days show in the National Theatre, and Ripi Auntie's mother, Zohra Auntie, came in the wheelchair. She saw our creation, and after that, she is gone. So both of us had a big place in our life from mother. And today, I'm saying this because still we have one more plan to make the dubbing in English and have that dance drama again, definitely we are hoping by next year. The reason why, because if you can get a chance, read this book is all about the early childhood education. Now parents are so much busy with their own work, how they are ignoring the children. This also story says about the multicultural, the ignorance of the children, and because they are so busy. If you read the book, then you will know about that. There is a big message in there that we'd like to spread in our world right now. As an early childhood educator, what I can say about that, my experience is saying, because for the children, we are now too much in the technology, we are just making them to do this, but moral education is missing there. They are little. If you don't practice with them since they are little, it will be vanished one day. So that is more important. And compassion, yes, I also, I loved Sister Sahara's speech, and also I believe in that walk with her, and also definitely we need some trial to get in there. That is what I believe.
Thank you. Mitu has a big heart for Mother Mary. She's a Catholic Christian from our Bangladesh Christian community, and I am a Bengali Muslim. But we merged our heart and mind in producing a dance drama to help the cause. And in our show, we made sure that in our VIP seating, the destitute children take place, and they would also, many of them would also participate in the dance drama. So it was really Peace to Dance, where we embraced children from all walks. And me too, I remember before every show, Yapa Mother Mary is a symbol of compassion, unconditional compassion. That in me too, that wherever she went, she carried that very unconditional mother symbol in her heart that she wanted to transform or symbolize through her creative efforts. And thank you so much, Mitu. Thank you.
I'm doing a course right now, and Brother Amr and Sister Sharmeen were actually the ones that had suggested it's a 3-week course on law and leadership for Muslim women. And I was so excited when I came to see them today because for the first time that Thomas Jefferson studied law at the College of William and Mary. And when he studied law at that time, he studied the 3 main legal systems at the time, which were French law, British common law, and Islamic Sharia law. And I didn't know that. And when we were learning about Sharia law, we learned that it has 5 main goals. So they are the preservation of your religion or faith. So the right to practice your religion is an inalienable right. The right to life. The right to your lineage, progeny, family. The right to intellect, or freedom of thought and expression. And the right to your property or wealth. And I was telling Sister Sharmeen, that sounds like our Bill of Rights. How come I never, realized these linkages? And just in terms of dealing today with a lot of negativity surrounding, Sharia law and stuff, I was just mentioning to her that I didn't know about these commonalities. So it's not that necessarily relevant to compassion, but it's something that she had asked me to share because I was so excited to find out about it. And trying to think about how to link it with compassion, one of our professors was talking about law, and she said that, do you believe that an eye for an eye is fair? And so we said, yeah, it's fair. And she said, if, someone kills someone close to you, do you think it's fair that they should lose their life in a legal system? And so the class was kind of like, well, yeah, it's fair. And she said, that is basic fairness. And we all agree that that's fair. But that is the absolute lowest baseline that can be applied in humanity. And everything above that is compassion. And we should strive to be here, not here. So she was saying that even though it's fair, you have to strive to be better than fairness. Fairness should not be our baseline for how we interact. Even though, we think that's fair, that's great, we're not being unfair. But she said, no, that is the lowest acceptable level of humanity, but we have to strive to be so much higher than that. So in actuality, if someone kills someone closer to you, you should forgive them. The state has a responsibility for justice, but as a person, you have a responsibility to show compassion to them and forgive them. And she told us a story about an Afghani king, and she said that he used to go in every situation where someone killed someone and then there was a ruling for the death penalty, which is fair, he would personally travel to that family and he would kneel down before the family and he would say, I am the king and I am kneeling down before you and begging you forgive that person. And in every case except one, the family forgave the person. And in the one case where he couldn't persuade them to forgive the person, he left the country because he said, I can't even bear to be here when justice is carried out because I don't strive for justice, I strive for compassion. So I thought that that was an interesting
So, like justice without compassion is becomes like a bird without one wing, you know. You do need two wings for the bird to fly. That is compassion and fairness. Just one is not enough. And compassion has to be the foundation, as you said. That is the higher, utmost goal, you know, in our human journey.
Right? Tolerance is like this lowest denominator. Like, you know, I don't like you, but I have to tolerate you. You know, because this is the law of the land that we are all equal. I don't like you, but I still have to tolerate you. It's a very, very, very low base, right? But you want to really rise above tolerance to understanding and then to acceptance and then hopefully to embracing others, you know. Despite of the differences, we are still one and the same. So it reminds me of the same kind of hierarchy.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I just like it.
I would just first, I want to echo what Sister Kauthar said about her experience coming here and how people went out of their way to help her. And I felt like when you were talking, Sister Kauthar, it's like almost identical to my own experience. There were people, when I came here, trying hard to build a family and to make my way. And if it wasn't for certain people helping me, especially in academia and professionally, I don't think that, I mean, as you said, that no one can do it by themselves. And those people did not need anything from me. And those people were not, again, it didn't matter what religion, what ethnicity, what it was. But they did it out of their compassion and their appreciation for someone who tried hard. And forever I am grateful for those people and have gratitude for them. There's a one gardener also with them, 5 of them. And I don't know, I always appreciated them and the hard work they are doing. And so I got into a habit of every month, in the beginning of the month, I would just give them something extra above the cost of coffee or tea or whatever. And they were very appreciative and they always just said like, you don't have to do that. And I say, well, I said it's from God, it's not from me. I mean, that's continuously what I said to them. And they were always coming to thank me whenever, every month when this happened. Those people, of course, are very simple, and of course, like the majority of people in Ethiopia, or a chunk of them, they are Christians. And they knew very well that I'm a Muslim man. And one day, all of them came to my office, all of them, the 5 of them, and said that we want just to thank you so much for thinking of us every month. And we have something to give you. And they gave me a bag and said, please open it. And I opened the bag, and they have given me a prayer rug, a Muslim prayer rug. For me, because they noticed that in my office I did not have a prayer rug. Sometimes I think of this and say, look at the culture, how cultured those people are. It's not about education, it's not about nothing. Those are the cleaners. And look how they thought about, well, this man, we know he prays, but he doesn't have a rug, because other Muslims have prayer rugs. So they made sure to give me a prayer rug as a symbol of gratitude and compassion. It touched me so much because it really transcended all boundaries, all differences, and made me realize how people can be beautiful, regardless of wherever they come from. And as you said, Brother Hafiz, that it's like you do the good, you don't expect anything in return, but you get something in return. This is the karma that comes around. But it should be part of our modus operandi in everything we are doing. So I thought I would share that.
Here comes Wally Gold.